welcome back to my channel. I know in the previous video you couldn't see my eyes were cut out. I can't be bothered to go over and edit it, so sorry about that, but at least you can hear me speak, that's the main thing. I want to say in this video about something that something that I've noticed recently that I just want to talk about it and my views on it. So as you know, because I've talked about it a lot, I'm autistic and I have OCD. My OCD is kind of more autistic OCD as opposed to classical OCD, but it's more very much around order, and also I have a very severe germ phobia, specifically around germs that are passed by other humans. When I say that's because like my germ phobia is quite specific. I'm not like a clean freak or anything like that. I am in some areas, but it is more to do with germs passed by other humans, and also germs that can be passed. And also I do have some contamination fears over, for example, handling raw meat and raw fish that might have bacteria on them, but I have actually overcome my fish issue and I can now cook fish from raw without so much OCD, so I'll talk about that in a moment because that is really great and my psychologist has helped me with that, and that is amazing because I wanted to eat fish because it's really healthy, and I'm not so fussed about meat, but I really wanted to eat fish because it's like really healthy and I do really like it, and I've sort of, obviously I still have some anxiety, but I'm getting more confident around cooking it and stuff, and cooking it according to the packet instructions and not like obsessing so much, and like just getting more used to cooking it and feeling more relaxed about cooking it, and just reassuring myself that logically I know it's safe, and following all instructions and So I'm actually and I actually am getting quite and many people will be like, so what, like, because sorry. So many people will be like, what, that's not a big deal. Like, people who don't have OCD, because they won't be thinking it's a big deal, but to someone like me, it is amazing, real progress, and I get a real sense of achievement that I've actually been able to overcome that issue. I mean, I still have anxiety and I'm still working on it, but to me that's an absolutely amazing achievement. And there's kind of some positive that's come out for being stuck at home. And also, as I talked about in a previous video, compared to COVID anxiety, it pales into absolute insignificance. It's a manageable anxiety. I can do it. I know it's in my head. Whereas with COVID, obviously, it's not all in my head. So that's really great. And I had trout fillet the other day, like in a cook bag once, which obviously helps my OCD to some extent because I don't have to handle it in its raw state. So I'm not handling anything raw because that's a major trigger point for my OCD, obviously. So it being in its cook bag means I'm not like actually handling any raw fish, and you just put it in the oven, and it's got the instructions on it and stuff according to weight. So that's pretty simple. But I'm not trying to be limited by that though. Like, that's just easier for me to have the cook bags as well, because being a single person, you can get one fillet. But I am also trying to overcome my anxiety with actually handling it as well, like bigger ones in like breadcrumbs, so I'm not like directly touching the fish, but it's like you are still handling it, sort of thing. You know what I mean? And I'm getting better with that as well. So that's like, I am massively overcoming that, and that's really good because I like food, and that's like a motivator, and I want to eat healthy, and obviously fish is really healthy. So this is really, really, really positive, and I just feel really pleased that I'm, that's happened, and it's all thanks to the psychologist. She's been great. Obviously my hard work has been the main driver, but the psychologist has been the motivation. So what I was saying is something I've noticed recently, which did trigger my OCD or anxiety, was when my dad told me about what Co-op and Morrison's have been doing lately. Is that Co-op and Morrison's have decided to remove use-by dates. I think Co-op has decided to remove use-by dates from milk, and Morrison's has decided to remove use-by dates from milk, and Co-op has decided to remove use-by dates from yogurt. And it's really raised my anxiety levels, because I was like, whoa, is this going to be like a new trend? And is this like what all shops are going to do eventually? I was eventually reassured that they weren't completely removing dates altogether. They were simply changing use by to best before. So there'll still be dates on them, and that massively reassured me, and now I'm not so anxious because I'll just carry on treating it like a use by date because I need dates. I was like, oh my god, again, get rid of dates completely? Like, it's not as bad as that. They are still keeping dates. As I say, they're just moving it over to best before by date in a bid to decrease waste. Now, I actually think this is not going to lead to a shred of difference in terms of waste. I feel that I just don't see it happening. This is just cosmetic in my opinion. I can say why it's cosmetic. First of all, many people do not know the difference between best before and use by dates anyway. Now I do. I'm very, very well educated on the difference. Best before dates apply to foods that are not highly perishable, and that if you were to eat them after the date, as long as they're not mouldy, and they're not mouldy basically, they're not going to give you food poisoning. So things like carrots, you can eat carrots. I've got a pack of carrots in the fridge, go over a week past their best before date, and are still in really good condition. So I'll eat them, checking them for mould obviously, but they're so far don't have any mould on them, and they're still in good condition. A little bit, not past their best, but they're still in good condition. And that's not going to give me food poisoning. But eating something after its best before date, like carrots and things like that, as long as it's not rotten, as long as it's not got mould on it, it's fine. But there are quite a lot of people who treat best before dates as use by dates, and treat best before as something that's categorical, and will throw food away after its best before date. But best before is just a guide, and it's on things like chocolate, sweets, things like that. I don't think we really need best before dates on foods like that, because you can eat chocolate after its date and it's fine. It doesn't really go off. Well, I mean, it will lose its flavour and stuff, but and eventually it will deteriorate. But it'll be obvious when it happens. But yeah, use by dates are on foods such as milk, meat, fish, anything that's perishable, where it's not always obvious if it's going to cause you ill health. So people often say, oh, milk smells when it's off. Yes, it does, but often by that point there's already a lot of bacteria, and there's also like a kind of, what's the word, there's a kind of a phase transition where the milk starts to become unsafe to drink, and it might not necessarily smell during that phase transition. And obviously this depends on variables like how well it's been stored and temperature and humidity and things like that. Obviously, use by date often has some leeway, obviously, to accommodate for how it's been stored. So it doesn't mean that if you drink milk after it's used by date, you are going to get ill, but it is a risk, and I'm not prepared to take that risk. And yeah, so people, if you want to take that risk and you get ill, well, that's kind of your fault, but I'm not going to take that risk. Most of the time it's fine, but obviously we don't know, because there could be dangerous levels of bacteria in that milk, and you wouldn't know necessarily, even if it smells. As the Food Standards Agency says, a food might look and taste all right, and it could still make you ill. So that's why it's good to abide by use by dates. And I do. But as I say, many people don't know the distinction between best before and use by dates. So they treat best before as a use by date. Now, but considering many people treat best before as use by dates, changing milk and yogurt over to best before, those people are still going to carry on treating it like a use by date, because they already treat best before as use by dates, and there hasn't been any change there. Also, people like me who don't like the change and are thinking, hang on a minute, this is conflicting, confusing, because we've been told for so long by the Food Standards Agency that foods like milk are highly perishable and you shouldn't drink them after they're used by date, basically are going to carry on treating it as a use by date anyway, even though we know the distinction between best before and use by date, but because it was previously a use by date, we're going to carry on treating it that way. And not just people with OCD or autism like me, but a lot of neurotypical people will carry on doing that. And those people who don't care and have it after the date anyway are just going to carry on as before anyways, again, not going to change. So I just feel like this isn't going to solve the waste problem, it's just purely cosmetic. And also, the Food Standards Agency is still sending out very clear message about milk and things like that not exceeding the use by date, and shops can actually get prosecuted if they sell things after use by date. It makes me wonder now whether they get prosecuted if they now sell milk with best before dates on after it's used by date. Will they get prosecuted anymore? It makes me wonder. It's just very confusing, and I can understand sort of yogurt moving over to best before to some extent because yogurt is fermented and acidic, and I would say is therefore significantly less likely to make you ill if you were to have it after its date than say something like milk. Milk, I would say, is way more dodgy. And people, it's funny also because some people say, oh well, milk, milk, we drink sour milk like kefir, therefore it's okay. Again, that's down to complete ignorance because kefir, the bacteria in there is very controlled bacteria. Okay, kefir isn't just left somewhere for loads of bacteria to proliferate. The bacteria in kefir is very highly controlled. The bacteria in kefir and in buttermilk and in other fermented products you get in the supermarket is bacteria that's not going to make you ill. The problem with leaving milk out, that then goes sour, is yes, you might get good bacteria, but you could also get really bad, nasty bacteria. It could give you diarrhea and horrible stomach problems. Like in the Victorian period, before they had refrigerators and things like that, and when milk was just left out, there was a very high infant mortality actually, and still is in some countries. And that shows how milk can actually be very dangerous if you are to drink it when it's gone sour. So people like that are just so ignorant, it drives me crazy. But seriously, if they want to make themselves ill, I can't stop them. But basically, yeah, there's a lot of ignorance around food in general. And yes, I do take things very extreme because I'm autistic with OCD. And some people, and I'm not saying that having something after it's used by date is going to make you ill. I'm not saying that. I know logically that if it's been stored well, like my dad often has milk after it's used by date and he never gets ill. But he won't drink sour milk though. I mean, that's a different matter entirely, Drinking sour milk, that is just really, really risky. Seriously. But yeah, I'm not going to take that risk. And I think also it depends on your state of health as well. Like someone with a compromised immune system or like a very elderly, frail person definitely won't take that risk, But yeah, do let me know what you think. So thank you for watching.